Hey guys, Jessica here. So today we're going to talk about the Spectra S1 Pro. So first thing to talk about with this pump, this is not available here in the US currently, and it probably is not going to become available in the US anytime soon, given that we don't see any FDA data coming through on this pump, and we don't see Spectra US having any knowledge of this pump. This is available in South Korea. So why, as a US-based lactation consultant, am I going to talk to you about this pump today? Because it's been available on the international market for a while. And I'm starting to see an increase in moms who are getting really frustrated with the pump market and the situation we're having here in the US, where we have an ever increasing race to the bottom for pump quality. So a lot of moms are actually choosing to go overseas and import their pumps. We've seen that before. It used to be a thing to import things from other countries. It's just going to become a thing now. It's just a complicated thing. Some moms are so motivated to get a pump that has specific features, specific cycle speed, specific suction, that they're going to do anything and everything to get their hands on it. And given that the pump market is no longer focused on the US for many reasons, we're going to cover that in another video later this week so we can talk about what's going on. But this pump, I'm actually starting to see US moms import it. So I actually imported this from South Korea. The website I imported it from was called Empress Korea. The big thing to know with that before you go and decide that you're going to import a pump, because I have favorable things to say about it, this may not be covered by warranty. I don't know. Empress Korea was like, you would have to talk to the Korean Spectra site. We think they would honor it, but I don't know. But I also have a lot of clients who are like, well, this is 350 and it is not the same as our S1 S2 pump. It is like our S1 S2 pump had a very high achieving baby with the Spectra Synergy Gold. It has lots of features that people love about the Spectra Synergy Gold. It addresses some concerns that people have about the Spectra Synergy Gold, and it outperforms the Spectra S1, S2 pump. So they're motivated by that. And this cost me $350 to import. So honestly, not that terrible. It is a battery operated pump. That is one of the things that it offers that the Spectra Synergy Gold doesn't. The big difference between the US version of the Spectra S1, S2 and the Spectra Synergy Gold are going to come down to the S1, S2 has a battery option with the S1. The S1, S2 is a single motor pump, which means both sides are pulling together. On the Spectra Synergy Gold, we're dealing with a dual motor pump, which means each side is independently controlled. You do have to use the same cycle speed and the same settings on both sides, but you can actually change the suction level. So if one breast responds better to higher suction, then you can reduce it. Big thing we have with the Spectra Synergy Gold is that you have adjustability on your stimulation mode. Spectra S1, S2 has 70 cycles per minute, which is what I would tell you is kind of, it's a good stimulation speed. If a pump has less than 70 cycles per minute on stimulation, I tend to say that's probably not going to be a great model. We're going to have a lot harder time getting moms to respond to it. We're going to have a lot more inconsistent response and a lot more failure. To be clear, I am not telling you that S1, S2 is a bad pump, but it hasn't really changed since it came out in 2014. It is still essentially the same pump, slightly different price tag, but not even that much. The quality has declined though. I do see that the motors are not lasting as long, whereas the original S1, S2 motors were lasting for a long time. This pump is the same body as the S1, S2. It is a single motor pump. So it does not matter whether you are single or double pumping. Let me pull this off. You have two ports, very similar to the Spectra Synergy Gold. So instead of having a little tubing port that you slip tubing over, you will need one of those white adapters that you then plug into this. This is a better setup than what the Spectra S1, S2 has in terms of the ability to single or double pump. It makes it very easy if you're somebody who is switching sides for whatever reason, but it's not dual motor, which is going to confuse a lot of people because it does say left and right, but the reality is the left port can work on the left or the right breast. There's not anything with that. But it doesn't have that little tiny white cap that has always annoyed me with the Spectra S1, S2, because it does have this very easy to operate plug. It's very high quality. When you turn this on, it does look a little bit different. Let me see if I can actually show you. So it's not going to let me do it today. Some days it'll focus on the digital screen. Some days it won't. It was worth trying. The way that it's documented, when you turn on your Spectra S1, S2, it's going to tell you how many cycles per minute. So it's going to say 70 cycles per minute, 54, 46. This one does not say that. This one says cycle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So on stimulation and on expression, you have 5 cycle speeds. The cycle speeds are going to match what you have on your Spectra S1, S2 for the expression mode. So you're going to have that 54 to 38. That's going to be essentially the same. You are going to get 15 levels on each cycle speed instead of 12 levels. So you get a little bit more nuance, but the range was actually exactly the same, going from about 40 mmHg on the lowest when you're double pumping up to about 220. That range is exactly what we've been getting with the Spectra S1, S2. So that is exactly the same. Stimulation is where they really have improved it, and they've used the programming from the Spectra Synergy Gold in order to improve this S1 Pro pump. It hands down beats out the S1, S2 US version because it has more cycle speed options. So you have 74 cycles per minute to 108 cycles per minute, and you have 5 levels on each of those settings. If you are one of my clients and you want to see this chart to decide for yourself, and I'll also probably link it in the blog because people need to see this, but it'll be in the client resource library and it'll also be on the blog that I will link down below because the settings are just slightly different. They're slightly more nuanced. You are going to have to kind of play with it. It's not going to be a one-to-one if you're switching from the S1, S2 to the S1 Pro. So why would somebody switch from that? Because they need faster cycle speeds. One of the challenges we have when moms have been using the Medela Symphony for 2 or 3 months, and I see this in different geographical locations, it appears to be insurance plan and hospital specific. A lot of moms are sent home with a Medela Symphony and they have a 2 or 3 month rental. Well, at the end of that 2 or 3 month rental, when they want to transition to another pump, they're having a hard time because the 70 cycles per minute on the S1, S2 isn't really cutting it. They're past the point that a stationary pump like the Medela Symphony was really satisfying them, so they don't want to go back to the Medela Symphony, which is ruling out the Spectra Synergy Gold. The advantage of the S1, S2, and the S1 Pro is that we can actually just pop this in a fanny pack. Is it the most portable I've ever seen? No. We do have other pumps that are more portable, and this is a bowling ball. It weighs about the same in every regard other than the quality of the internal components. I would say this is functionally the same in terms of the weight, the size, everything is the same. You even have the same shape bottle holder as the new one. Same body. It's made by the same company. Probably made in the same factory. It's just not sold here in the US. So this does provide additional portability and it helps to bridge that gap because the Medela Symphony is running really fast cycle speeds, and where it really excels is it runs fast cycle speeds with high to medium suction. Not all pumps can do that. A lot of pump motors actually work to, I don't know, improve their longevity by decreasing the cycle speed on the higher settings. So that is a little bit of a downfall of some pumps. This one doesn't do that. We do see that this is probably pushing, this motor is more in line with the quality of the 2018, 2019 Spectra S1 that I still have in the office. I mean, that one back here, that was my personal pump. I used it and abused it with my last child. So we put that one through the ringer. It is a higher quality motor. It still pressure tests fine at a really high hour. The newer Spectra S1, S2, the S2 not so much. The S2 tends to last. The motor wears out at about 12 to 1500 hours still. It's the S1 that we're seeing it wear out as soon as 700 to 800 hours. It seems like the older the battery gets, the harder the motor struggles to be consistent when on battery. So if you buy a battery operated pump and then it declines in quality, this is something we've really only seen over the last 18 months to 2 years. But that's going to happen in this pump economy. This economy for the pump market is completely insane. It is a hot mess. Again, we're going to talk about that in another video later this week. But this is closer to what, I had access to in 2019. So it has better cycle speeds as well. So this is going to be a solution to kind of a niche problem. Does everyone need to go out and import this because it's better than the S1, S2? No. We are still seeing that the S1, S2 is one of the most solid pumps on the market. It is still kind of our go-to if I have a brand new mom that I know nothing about. I have no idea what her body is going to need. The Spectra S1, S2, the Motif Luna, and the Samori S6 are kind of our top standard pumps that are in a cost-effective range. If we know what your body needs, absolutely there are other primary pumps like the Unimom Opera that we might be recommending, but a lot of first-time moms are not even confident that they want to pump. They haven't pumped before, so telling them to go buy a $300 to $600 pump gets a little crazy. They're really not willing to spend that money. And that's fine because we don't know if pumping is going to work for them. We don't know if it's going to work for their family. Pumping is an incredible time and energy commitment, and it doesn't work for everybody. It's not the backup solution to latching not working. So when we're trying to do this, we're trying to balance that. But there are limitations. It is a harder pump to transition to from, several months of Medela Symphony. Trying to drop those cycle speeds is really hard. When we're trying to recommend like the Motif Luna or the Samoria S6, they haven't gotten their programming quite 100% where it needs to be. So there's a big drop off in cycle speeds for expression. So we get that the cycle speeds could be too low to, reliably recommend one of those. Honestly, this market is just waiting for one of these three companies, Spectra, Samori, or Motif, to decide that they're going to bring one of these pumps to the market that has the higher cycle speeds, it has the better suction options. That's going to knock the other two out of the running. It's just a matter of when one of them is going to do that here in the US market and if that's even going to happen. But for those moms who are like, I want a Spectra, but it's not working because of the cycle speeds, this could be a really good option to look at. This is a really durable motor. I don't think we're going to see a ton of issues with the fact that this one may or may not have a real warranty on it, because I don't think we're going to see any more motor death with this than we see with regular Spectras. And we're not seeing a ton with that. So it's kind of a low risk. It's not a no risk option. There is some risk. Anytime you import something, you are taking a risk. The other thing to note is that this Spectra S1 Pro does not come with the same things that pumps come with here in the US. I was actually kind of surprised when I opened it because it was $350. So I was expecting to open it and find, two sets of flanges, tubing, two bottles. I think they all still come with two nipples. They may only come with one nipple now. It's been a minute since I actually paid attention to the nipples that come in boxes of pumps because I just throw those away for the most part. But when I opened this one, I was really surprised. It actually came with one 28 millimeter flange and one set of tubing. So you couldn't even double pump with this right away. It did come with a Korean power cord, which is completely normal. So you would have to source a 12-volt power cord. For me, I just pulled one of my Spectra S1 S2 power cords and added it to this. It was completely fine. On the bottom, everything on the bottom of this is not in English, but thanks to Google Translate, you can actually translate all this. The Spectra Synergy Gold is approved as a multi-user pump by the FDA. This one does not have that marking. And when we translated, I had one of the old Spectra Synergy Golds when we were importing those from South Korea. So this is not a new behavior. Spectra often releases their best products overseas, not here in the US market. So for a long time, moms have been sourcing Spectra products from overseas to the US. Not new, hasn't really been a really risky venture. Again, you take the risk, you make the decision. If it really just depends what you're trying to do. But this one, it's not labeled as a multi-user pump in Korean, and it was labeled as being safe for use by multiple women in the Korean version of the Spectra Synergy Gold. Now on the bottom of your Spectra Synergy Gold that you can go buy, at Target, it does say multi-user. It is actually approved. If you want to fact check me on that, you can look at the bottom of your pump. You can also look at the FDA data. Synergy Gold is not imported through the FDA as the Synergy Gold. It's actually imported as the Spectra Cashmere. So if you are a pump nerd like me and you want to go look that up and see what that data said, it was imported as the Spectra Cashmere, which is fine. The FDA does not require them to label these pumps by the name they'll be sold. I can have all my thoughts on that all day long, but it's legally allowed. So better cycle speeds on stimulation, slightly different tubing setup, uses the same power cords. You would have to replace the power cord. Should you import one of these? If you want to, yeah. If you think that this could work for you and there is a reasonable expectation that the higher cycle speeds are what you are missing, then absolutely this could be something that you do. If there is no reason to think that, then it's probably not the right call for you. Some people just like the novelty of saying that they went and got, the latest, greatest, newest Spectra. That makes them really happy. If that makes you happy, I would give this one my seal of approval. This is definitely one that I would pull out of my collection to pump with myself. I think this is all around a better version of the Spectra S1, S2. Actually really makes me mad that we're not getting it here in the US and that Spectra US doesn't seem to know about it. Makes me really sad that, as somebody who was pumping, just a few years ago, that we don't have access to as high quality of products as it feels like we did then. It feels like we're going the wrong direction with the pump market. But overall, I like the Spectra S1 Pro. I do think it is a low risk venture as long as you understand that you may or may not have the warranty, which means, if it dies, you may be out the 350. That may be okay with you. If you don't have $350 to gamble, maybe this is not the right call for you. We can probably find you something here in the US that will work, but there is something to be said for the fact that almost every LC knows how to work the Spectra. It does provide kind of a universally accessible pump option. It's definitely one that, consider it. I like it. I think it's a good option. I don't think it's like a super risky venture, whereas like importing some random wearable, you could get screwed because we don't have parts for it. We have parts for this. It uses Spectra parts. It uses the same parts as the Spectra Synergy Gold. So lots of access, lots of options. This is all around a good option. If you have any questions, please comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you have imported this, I'd love to hear your thoughts. But I can tell you that I have lots of clients who've been using it as international clients and lots of clients who have imported it. And they all have really positive things to say. Most of them are producing more with the Spectra S1 Pro than they were the S1, S2. So hopefully that helps, and happy pumping.